Okay, well, I think ICT should only really be used when it enhances learning. So when it enhances particularly traditional methodology, or when it can achieve an outcome which is not possible to achieve through traditional means. I've talked in the past when I've given presentations about the SAMR model, so the SAMR model, whereby what we're trying to do at the top level is redefining the learning, achieving previously inconceivable tasks through the use of technology. So, for example, using an iPad for creating a podcast or for creating and editing a movie and those sorts of things. So I think that in relation to real life authentic experiences with the students or with the language learners, what needs to happen is the teachers need to use mechanisms such as Twitter to connect with each other, as well as established programs such as the Connected Classrooms program, which my understanding is that's a global program which is being organised by the British Council in the UK, and also in Europe-wide we have e-twinning, which is a Europe-wide mechanism for encouraging interaction between students, and that is all really about building a community, which I've talked about already. So I think what needs to happen is the teachers need to be part of a community, build a community, and through those connections, then these real authentic opportunities can then create themselves. Now, there are other ways of doing this. You could, for example, look at Skype in the classroom as a network to tap into. So that's very easy to find. So it's just a question of setting up a profile, creating a project, or finding other people that have got interesting projects you want to link into. So that's one method. In fact, I spoke about Skype in the classroom for Microsoft at the BET show in 2012. So that was on the Microsoft stand. That was great. And I spoke about this for about 4 days, encouraging different people to get involved. And they're actually they're liaising with eTwinning in the UK as well. So I think that's a really natural fit. So apart from the sort of established communities out there, I think that if maybe individual language teachers have friends who live in foreign countries such as France, in Germany, in Spain, or wherever it might be, and they can then set up personal Skype calls when they can tap into existing relationships that they have, so that children get the opportunity to speak with authentic native speakers. I think that's really key, and technology definitely. I think technology is not a barrier for that. I think the barrier is children being, worried about how they appear when they're online, when they appear as a part of a video conference. They're concerned maybe about not looking cool, that sort of thing. But actually, I think the technology is easy now, particularly with, say, Skype on iPads or Skype on the computer. It's all very straightforward. The technology is no longer a barrier, whereas it was maybe a few years ago. The only barrier would be maybe the internet speed. I know that the average speeds in Australia compared to the UK normally are slightly different, let's say. But I think in general it's all about making connections, and it's about establishing drawing on existing communities as well as establishing your own personal and professional communities. And that's how you give the children the opportunities to take part in authentic communication. Because the bottom line is the children will go with things if the teacher shows a lot of enthusiasm and makes sure that everything is moderated or safe and what have you. And now it's a very easy thing to do in order to ensure that by making these connections with different people. And I think that's the way forward. So creating authentic opportunities. I mean, a few years ago, to, for example, bring authentic resources into the classroom, you would have to, say, go to France and come back with 30 copies of a magazine, let's say, from a supermarket, that sort of thing. Whereas now you can have access to all the national newspapers from the country where you're learning the language, or an authentic timetable to do with to booking a train ticket, or estate agents' adverts for houses, and all these other things which in the past you'd have to actually go to the country and get. Because of the internet, because of the technology, everything is at your fingertips. So I think creating authentic situations for the children to use the language through technology is actually very straightforward. It's just really a question of going for it, I think, and exploring different avenues. And being part of a community can help you do that, I think. Other things that have been going on in the UK recently in relation to languages, sort of hot topics. There's CLIL that's been around for a few years now. The idea of teaching, say, geography or history through the foreign language, and there's been some very good practitioners doing that, good examples of that. And recently there is another initiative which is a bit of a twist on CLIL, which is FLAME, F-L-A-M-E. So if anyone does a search for that online, they can find out more about it, and that's being led by the Association for Language Learning, or ALL, in the UK, which is a charity designed to support language teachers, their own subject association, and they've been doing some sterling work as well as other organisations promoting languages in the UK. So I think that those are some of the main topics, but I definitely think that technology is becoming more and more important, particularly with the economic situation as we see it in the UK, because there's not a lot of money around at the moment, particularly in the state sector. And I think that joining people together, helping people to connect with each other virtually or through face-to-face events is an absolutely wonderful thing. There are local branches with ALL. Some of them are more active than others, a bit like the MLTAs that we have here. So there's one in London, ALL London, and they have regular events every 6 months. In January and in June, and they're normally a morning event whereby you get different people coming along, giving sessions, people attending them. Normally you get about 100 to 120 or so people turning up on a Saturday morning, not just from the London area, but some people are quite happy to travel further afield. And I think this is personally the way things are going. I mean, you still get these big conferences and people will come along and pay however much it might be to attend and to watch learned people talking about educational theories or going to different workshops. But there's also, and that's brilliant, but there's also these alternative CPD models or PD models as well, which means that people are quite happy to put on smaller events, local events, and attract local people to come along and to learn either very cheaply or for free. And in the present economic climate, I think these sorts of initiatives are essential because there is a need for them. And I'm so glad to be one of the people who is spearheading this movement in the UK in languages.